What's up, guys? I'm LQ. This is the LQ Review. Thank you so much for joining me right here at my YouTube channel. This is where we talk about all the geeky, nerdy stuff that we love to talk about. Movies, video games, comic books, and TV shows. And right now, I'd like to give you guys my review of Coming to America, the sequel to the movie Coming to America, starring Eddie Murphy and Arsenio Hall. And this sequel, obviously, is about 30 years later. And it involves Akeem. He is still Prince of Zamunda with his wife, Queen Lisa, and played again by Sherry Headley, and she was wonderful in Coming to America, but I haven't seen her in a lot of stuff since then, so it was great seeing that actress back. And King Jafar, played by James Earl Jones, he is about to depart this earth, and he wants to make sure, according to tradition, that Akeem has an heir lined up, and that heir has to be a son. So Akeem, played by Eddie Murphy, he learns that he has a son in Queens that was conceived before he met Lisa when he was on his trip, and he goes back with Arsenio Hall to get his son and bring him back to Zamunda. And then hijinks occur. Wesley Snipes plays a general from a feuding country who wants to invade if they cannot form an alliance through marriage. And there really is a lot of stuff happening here. But I will say this, that most of this movie actually takes place in Zamunda. Most of this movie does not take place in Queens. Very, very little of it takes place in Queens. So it's not really coming to America. It's coming to Zamunda by Eddie Murphy's son, played by, what was that actor's name? I know his name in the movie is Lavelle. Jermaine Fowler. He was really... lots of charisma, lots of screen presence, very funny guy. I'm not too familiar with his work, but definitely a very funny guy. And Akeem has 3 daughters, and the one that really stood out was Princess Mika, played by Geeky Lane. And Geeky Lane, I am familiar with her. I've seen her in stuff before. What have I seen her in? If Beale Street Could Talk, that's what I've seen her in. All right. The Old Guard. Yep, saw her in The Old Guard, too. All right. Geeky Lane, she did a great job in this, by the way. Just a great job. Plays his older daughter. And that's kind of where a lot of this movie really felt very predictable. So let me rewind a little bit. Did I like it? I love the first Coming to America. It's actually my favorite Eddie Murphy movie. Right up there, you got Beverly Hills Cop, you got The Golden Child, and you got Coming to America. Those are the gold standard of Eddie Murphy for me. And it, the comedy was risky. It was R-rated. It hit hard, and this was the opposite of that. This was PG-13. It felt very tame. It felt very neutered. I will use that word. It felt neutered. It felt like there's just something pivotal taken away from it, forcibly taken away from it. And comedy is one of those things that should be risky. And we live in an age right now where it's really difficult to be risky with comedy because you run the risk of, let's face it, you run the risk of being canceled. So it can be difficult to be risky with comedy today in the same way that they were in the original Coming to America. So because of that, I think that this age that we live in today, it's going to be really hard on comedy in the long run. And I think Coming to America is an example of that. We can debate whether it's right or wrong that our culture can't take a joke anymore. We can debate that all day long. And I would be willing to have that debate, not in an online forum, in an in-person forum. But I think the reality is that it is going to be very hard on comedy. And like I said, we see that with this movie. This movie wasn't that funny. Now, I smiled a lot in this movie, and let's be real, I was smiling through a lot of this movie, but it wasn't because I was being entertained by the comedy. It wasn't because my tickle bone was being tickled, right, or my funny bone was being tickled. It was because of the nostalgia. The nostalgia ran deep in this. Literally every reference that they could have made to the original Coming to America, they made here. Every single opportunity to reference it, even if it made no sense in the story, they referenced it here. So if it was nice while you're in it, it's nice because you're getting showered with nostalgia and you're smiling and you're like, oh, I remember that. It was better when they did it before, but I remember that. And it was better when they did it before. This was strictly nostalgia. There was nothing new here. It reminded me of Austin Powers 2. Let me explain. When Austin Powers 2 came out, it was a Austin Powers, the first Austin Powers, wasn't really a huge hit in the theaters. It became a hit on home video. And when it became a hit on home video, at that point, they decided to make the sequel. And the sequel was made with a bigger budget, better production values, but they ran a lot of the same jokes as the first movie. Hence, Coming to America 2, a lot of the same jokes. A lot of the same jokes. Quite literally. A lot of the same jokes. And we're meant to be into it because of nostalgia. So yeah, it definitely had problems for me. It just wasn't that funny of a movie. I'll tell you what this was. I'll tell you what this movie was. You guys know how in the Adam Sandler Netflix movies, he makes these movies with him and his buddies, and they're having a much better time than the audience is. That's this. That's Coming to America 2. Eddie Murphy gets together with his buddies from the first Coming to America movie, and some new friends. They invite some new friends. Why not? And they're messing around on set for a couple months, and they're having a lot more fun than the audience is. That's what this was. All right. Let's talk a little bit about the safetyness of this as far as the story's concerned, because we know it's the comedy safe, but what about the story? Well, you know how it's going to end before they're 10 minutes into the movie. Once you find out that he has a daughter that's been training to do this her whole life, but she can't do it because she's a girl, you know how this movie's going to end. Right? You just know. There's no surprise here. There's no even feigned attempt at trying to surprise us. Like, they know that we're going to know that, so they just run with it. And because of that, this feels like a played out series of skits with a predetermined ending that we already know. That's not to say there's not funny stuff in here. Tracy Morgan was funny. It's nice seeing him back on screen. Great chemistry between Jermaine Fowler and his love interest. And I don't remember her name. What was his love interest's name? Where's she at? Yep. Marimbe is her name in the movie. And, gosh, I can't even pronounce her name. Namzamo Mbatha? Namzamo Mbatha is the actress's name. I remember somebody telling me that she was a African actress and that she's trying to make it big in America, and I think she's going to because she was great. I can't pronounce that name though. Namzano Mbatha. Really great actress, very pretty actress, and I definitely think that with her looks and her acting ability, her chemistry that she had with Jermaine Fowler, definitely think she's going to go a long way. I think she's going to get her Hollywood breakout role. And this might have been it. A lot of cameos in this. You know, Louis Anderson makes a cameo. James Earl Jones makes a cameo. Wesley Snipes is more than a cameo. I mean, he's got a legitimate role in this. Morgan Freeman shows up. Salt and Pepper show up. There's just a lot of... And there's even more than that, guys. There's a lot of cameos that show up in this movie. Let's see here. Tayana Taylor was really funny as the Wesley Snipes' daughter. And I think she's gonna also be somebody who gets some more roles because of this role. I think she's gonna get some more roles because she was really funny, and and kind of had a lot of screen presence as well. So yeah, I think that's Leslie Jones. I don't think Leslie Jones is very funny. I think she's obnoxious, but a lot of people like her. Eddie Murphy and Arsenio Hall are actually not in this a whole lot. It really is kind of a passing the torch movie. Eddie Murphy's in it more than Arsenio Hall. If you're really psyched about seeing Arsenio Hall, then get less psyched. Because they're just not in it much. But when they are in it, it's great to see them again. There are some flashback scenes where they de-age the characters. That's a lot of fun. And Eddie Murphy, they don't even really need to de-age him a lot because my dude doesn't age. Like, I think he must have found the fountain of youth because he still looks great. So overall, listen, this wasn't very good. This wasn't very good. But they also hit a lot of the beats that I wanted them to hit as far as nostalgia was concerned. And they even hit some of the story beats I wanted them to hit. So, I have to give this a C. It wasn't good. Objectively, it wasn't a very good movie. But it did a lot of things right. And because it did a lot of things right, I got to give it a passing grade. I got to give it a C. Maybe I'm being too hard on it. Maybe I'm not being hard enough. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. I'd love to hear your take on it. I'd love to have a conversation about this one. While you're down there leaving a comment, make sure that you subscribe to my channel. I put out a lot of content, and I want to make sure you're up to date with everything that I'm doing. And as always, thank you so much for joining me right here at the Oki Review, where we get to talk about all the geeky, nerdy stuff that we love to talk about. And until next time, we'll see you guys later.